What could drive a wealthy father living in a $5 million mansion to commit the unthinkable? Was it the pressure of looming financial ruin, or something even darker hiding beneath the surface? We will be diving into a chilling and tragic story that shocked a community and left many questioning how wealth and status could mask such a deep, underlying despair. This is the story of a man who, faced with the loss of his luxurious lifestyle, made a decision that would end in unimaginable horror. Our love and respect go out to all those who knew and loved the Kamal family. The town of Dover, Massachusetts, is renowned for its wealth and exclusivity. It was in this town that the Kamal family lived in an expansive 21-room mansion, which was equipped with luxurious amenities like an at-home spa and a private movie theater. The head of the family, Rakesh Rick Kamal, held a prestigious position at Harvard University, and his wife, Tina Kamal, was also a graduate of the same esteemed institution. Their daughter, Ariana Kamal, attended the elite Milton Academy, with her college tuition already paid for at Middlebury College in Vermont. From an outsider's perspective, the Kamals were living an ideal life of prosperity and success. However, beneath this perfect exterior, the Kamals were facing significant financial difficulties that would eventually lead to a shocking crime that no one could have foreseen. The Kamal family's carefully constructed image of a perfect life shattered on December 28, 2023. Their impending eviction, scheduled for that day, was the catalyst for a horrific tragedy. A typed note found inside the mansion warned anyone entering to contact the police and investigate 3 specific second-floor bedrooms. Each room was marked with a white sheet of paper, concealing a scary discovery. Ariana and Tina were discovered in their bedrooms, victims of gunshot wounds. Kamal, the father, was found dead in the bathtub, having taken his own life with an unregistered Glock pistol after murdering his family. The once carefully maintained Kamal home fell into a grave silence, shattered only by the evidence of a brutal crime. As detectives dug deeper into the Kamal family's life, they found a troubling story. Months before the terrible events, the family had declared bankruptcy. Kamal, the father, had been borrowing large amounts of money from his mother and brother. Just a few days before the murders, Kamal made a suspicious change to Tina's $1,025,000 life insurance policy. Instead of being the primary beneficiary, he changed it so his brother, Minaj Kamal, would receive the money. This change happened only 4 days before the murders. The sudden change in the life insurance policy was a major red flag. It suggested that Kamal might have been planning to kill his family. Ironically, Minaj, who had lent Kamal a lot of money, was the one who found the bodies. This discovery revealed the full extent of the Kamal family's financial problems and deception. Kamal's facade of success had been crumbling for years. Despite claiming to have held a high-ranking position at Harvard, he had actually lost his job at 2019, but he kept this secret from his family. Tina, who claimed to have attended Harvard, had no proof of her education there. These inconsistencies suggest that the Kamal family had been living a life of deception, both to themselves and to others. Kamal's financial difficulties were dire. He was behind on mortgage payments for their mansion and resorted to elaborate lies to delay developers who were owed millions of dollars. He even went so far as to claim that Tina's father had died in India when, in reality, he was still alive. Despite these mounting problems, Kamal continued to portray an image of wealth and prosperity. He and Tina even toured a $6,500,000 home in Tennessee, maintaining the illusion of affluence. Their daughter, Ariana, was likely unaware of the family's dire financial straits. With the foreclosure of their home imminent, Kamal's pressure reached a breaking point. Desperate to maintain the illusion of success, he was overwhelmed by the reality of their impending eviction. On December 23, 2023, Kamal made a peculiar request to his brother, asking for information about his life insurance policy, a request that Minaj found unsettling. Kamal had carefully planned the murders by December 28th, the day the Kamals were scheduled to be evicted from their mansion. He had drafted several suicide notes and carefully staged the tragic events that would unfold. When Minaj arrived at the home, the alarm was blaring, and he was met with the horrifying aftermath of his brother's actions. The discovery of the Kamal family's bodies shocked their affluent neighborhood. The police found out that Kamal was in big trouble with money and saw no way out except to kill his family and himself. Their big house, which used to show how rich they were, became a crime scene that told a different story. The police learned how Kamal had lied to his family about losing his job and how he was trying to buy a new house even though they couldn't pay for the one they had. It was sad that the Kamals were looking at new houses while they were about to lose their own. After the killings, people started talking about the life insurance money that Kamal had changed before he died. His brother Minaj was now going to get the money instead. Tina's brother didn't think this was right and said that Kamal had tricked Tina into signing the papers. There was a big fight between the two families over the money. Till now, people still wonder if Tina really wanted to give the money to her brother and if she was forced to sign the papers. Family massacres, often referred to as familicides, are profoundly unsettling and tragic events that involve the killing of multiple family members by one of their own, usually a parent. The act of taking the lives of loved ones, particularly within the intimate and supposedly safe confines of a family, strikes at the very heart of human values and the fundamental notion of kinship. The sheer horror of such incidents compels society to seek explanations to understand the psychological and social factors that could drive someone to commit such a heinous crime. Despite extensive research, the reasons behind these acts remain complex and rooted in a web of psychological, social, and cultural influences. Psychologically, individuals who commit familicide often exhibit signs of severe mental distress. Depression, particularly when it leads to feelings of hopelessness and despair, is a common thread in many cases. For some perpetrators, the burden of providing for their family or maintaining their role as a protector becomes overwhelming, especially when faced with financial ruin, legal issues, or other significant life challenges. Individuals who commit familicide typically suffer from severe mental health conditions that distort their thinking and perceptions. These conditions may include depression, anxiety, psychosis, or personality disorders. For instance, a person experiencing major depressive disorder may develop a sense of hopelessness so profound that they believe there is no escape from their circumstances, leading them to view death as the only solution for themselves and their family. Psychological distress can be exacerbated by other factors, such as substance abuse, which impairs judgment and heightens aggression. Some individuals may also have a history of trauma, unresolved grief, or chronic stress that erodes their coping mechanisms over time. As psychological pressure mounts, these individuals may experience a break from reality, leading them to see familicide as a way to regain control or to save their family from perceived suffering. In extreme cases, delusional thinking can convince them that killing their loved ones is an act of mercy or protection. In other instances, the drive behind familicide is rooted in narcissism and a profound need for control. Perpetrators with narcissistic traits often view their family members not as independent beings, but as extensions of themselves. When their control over their family is threatened, perhaps by a spouse's desire for divorce or by the perceived failure of family members to meet their expectations, their response can be one of extreme violence. For these individuals, the murders may be seen as a way to punish those they believe have wronged them, or to reclaim control over a situation that feels out of their grasp. Unlike those driven by depression, narcissistic perpetrators are less likely to take their own lives after the act, as their primary motivation is to assert dominance rather than to escape despair. In more severe cases, familicide can be the result of psychosis or delusional beliefs. Individuals suffering from conditions such as paranoid schizophrenia may become convinced that their family members are a threat or are in danger from some external force. These delusions can be so compelling that the perpetrator believes they are acting in the best interests of their family or themselves by carrying out the murders. The usual moral and ethical considerations that would prevent someone from harming their loved ones are overridden by the overwhelming power of their delusional thinking, leading to acts of violence that are incomprehensible to those not suffering from such a disorder. Social isolation and alienation are also significant factors in some cases of familicide. When individuals feel cut off from the broader community, whether due to mental illness, cultural differences, or personal circumstances, they may become increasingly withdrawn and paranoid. This isolation can amplify feelings of resentment, anger, and despair, distorting their perception of reality. In such situations, the family unit may become the only focus of the individual's life. And when these relationships begin to deteriorate through divorce, infidelity, or other issues, their sense of identity and purpose may collapse. This collapse can lead to violent behavior as the individual desperately tries to regain control or exact revenge. The psychological underpinnings of familicide do not operate in a vacuum. External factors often exacerbate them. Economic stress, for example, is a frequent trigger. Financial difficulties, such as job loss, mounting debt, or foreclosure, can create intense pressure within a family. This stress can be particularly overwhelming for individuals who tie their sense of identity and self-worth to their financial success or ability to provide for their family. When faced with economic hardship, some individuals may perceive themselves as failures, leading to feelings of shame, guilt, and despair. For many, the inability to maintain their family's standard of living can result in a profound sense of hopelessness. They may begin to see no way out of their financial problems and might irrationally believe that taking their own life, and the lives of their loved ones, is the only way to avoid further suffering. This is especially true in situations where the family's economic decline is sudden and drastic, leaving little time for adjustment or support. The stress of economic hardship can also exacerbate existing mental health issues or trigger new ones. For instance, a previously stable person may develop depression or anxiety due to financial pressures, increasing the risk of extreme actions. In some cases, economic stress can lead to an escalation of domestic violence, as the perpetrator attempts to regain control in the only way they know how: through violence. For some, the perceived failure to provide may lead them to conclude that the only solution is to end their family's lives and their own to escape the unbearable burden of failure. Relationship breakdowns, such as divorce, separation, or infidelity, are also common catalysts for familicide. The end of a marriage or a romantic relationship can trigger intense emotional responses, especially in individuals already grappling with psychological issues. For some, the dissolution of a relationship is perceived not just as a personal failure, but as an existential threat, leading to a distorted belief that their family would be better off dead than living in a fractured home. In other cases, the act of murder may be driven by a desire for revenge against a spouse, perceived as betraying or abandoning the perpetrator, further illustrating the destructive potential of intense emotional turmoil. Cultural and societal influences also play a role in familicide, though these factors are often more subtle and pervasive. In some cultures, there is a strong emphasis on family honor and reputation. When an individual believes that their family has been dishonored, either by external forces or the actions of family members, they may feel compelled to commit acts of violence to restore that honor. Moreover, societal attitudes toward mental illness, masculinity, and family roles can significantly influence an individual's behavior. In societies where mental illness is stigmatized, individuals may be less likely to seek help, even when they are in crisis, leading to a deterioration in their mental state that increases the likelihood of violent behavior. Similarly, societal expectations of masculinity, particularly the role of the father as protector and provider, can create intense pressure on men, potentially leading them to commit familicide when they feel they can no longer fulfill these roles. The availability of weapons, particularly firearms, is another significant factor in many cases of familicide. The presence of a gun in the home can turn a moment of rage or despair into a deadly encounter. Research has shown that access to firearms increases the likelihood of homicide and suicide, a risk that is particularly pronounced in domestic settings. In societies where gun ownership is common and culturally accepted, the risk of familicide may be higher, as the presence of a firearm can make it easier for an individual to act on impulse, turning a momentary lapse in judgment into a permanent tragedy. Preventing family violence requires a complex approach that addresses the root causes and intervenes at critical junctures. Family violence often arises from a combination of psychological, social, and economic pressures, and preventing it involves strategies that target these factors comprehensively. Understanding the psychology behind such acts, strengthening social support systems, improving financial stability, and enhancing early intervention mechanisms are all critical components of a prevention strategy. One of the primary strategies for preventing familicide is to address the mental health issues that often underlie these acts. Many individuals who commit familicide suffer from severe mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, or personality disorders, which can lead to distorted thinking and a sense of hopelessness. Mental health services must be readily accessible and destigmatized, allowing individuals in crisis to seek help without fear of judgment or repercussions. Public health campaigns should promote mental health awareness, encouraging people to recognize the signs of severe psychological distress in themselves and others. By fostering an environment where mental health is openly discussed and supported, society can reduce the risk of individuals reaching a breaking point where they might consider such extreme actions. Social isolation is another vital risk factor for familicide. Individuals who are isolated from their communities and support networks are more likely to feel disconnected, hopeless, and overwhelmed by their circumstances. Preventing familicide requires building strong, supportive communities where individuals feel connected and valued. Community organizations, religious groups, and social services should work together to create networks of support that can identify and assist individuals and families in crisis. Encouraging community engagement and fostering a sense of belonging can help mitigate the feelings of isolation and despair that often precede familicide. Domestic violence is a significant precursor to familicide, particularly in cases where the perpetrator has a history of controlling or abusive behavior. Preventing familicide requires addressing domestic violence at its root through education, intervention, and support for survivors. Public awareness campaigns should emphasize the warning signs of domestic violence and the importance of seeking help early. Law enforcement and social services must be equipped to respond effectively to reports of domestic violence, providing protection and resources to those at risk. Additionally, it is essential to hold perpetrators of domestic violence accountable, ensuring that they receive appropriate legal consequences and treatment for their behavior. By intervening early in cases of domestic violence, society can prevent the escalation to more extreme forms of violence, such as familicide. Another critical strategy for preventing familicide is to promote healthy family dynamics and communication. Families that struggle with unresolved conflicts, poor communication, or dysfunctional relationships are more vulnerable to extreme outcomes. Programs that teach conflict resolution, communication skills, and emotional intelligence can help families navigate challenges more effectively, reducing the risk of violence. Parenting programs in particular can provide valuable support to parents who may be struggling with stress, anger, or other emotions that can contribute to family conflict. By fostering healthy family relationships, society can create an environment where family suicide is less likely to occur. Early intervention is essential in preventing familicide, mainly when warning signs are present. Individuals who are at risk of committing familicide often exhibit certain behaviors or attitudes, such as expressing feelings of hopelessness, making threats, or displaying extreme anger. It is essential for family members, friends, and professionals to be vigilant in recognizing these warning signs and to take them seriously. Interventions such as counseling, mental health treatment, or legal action may be necessary to prevent a situation from escalating to violence. Training for professionals who work with families, such as teachers, social workers, and healthcare providers, can help them identify and respond to potential risks before they result in tragedy. Law enforcement also plays a critical role in preventing familicide, mainly when there are explicit threats or a history of violence. Police officers must be trained to recognize the signs of potential familicide and to intervene effectively. This may involve restraining orders, mandatory counseling, or other legal measures to protect those at risk. Additionally, law enforcement agencies should work closely with mental health professionals and social services to ensure a coordinated response to individuals who may be at risk of committing familicide. By taking threats seriously and acting decisively, law enforcement can prevent potential tragedies. In some cases, the media can contribute to the risk of familicide by sensationalizing similar events or by creating a narrative that normalizes extreme actions as a response to stress or failure. Media coverage should be handled with care, avoiding the glorification of perpetrators and instead focusing on the impact of the crime on victims and communities. Responsible reporting can help prevent copycat incidents by not providing potential perpetrators with a blueprint for violence. Additionally, the media can play a positive role in prevention by raising awareness of the resources available for individuals in crisis and by highlighting stories of resilience and recovery. Ultimately, preventing familicide requires a holistic approach that addresses the complex interactions between psychological, social, and economic factors. It is not enough to focus on any one aspect in isolation. Instead, society must take a comprehensive approach that integrates mental health support, economic stability, social connection, domestic violence, prevention, healthy family dynamics, early intervention, law enforcement action, and responsible media coverage. By addressing these factors in tandem, society can reduce the likelihood that individuals will resort to such extreme actions and can protect vulnerable families from tragedy. Prevention also involves ongoing research and data collection to understand better the causes and risk factors associated with familicide. Researchers must continue to study the phenomenon, analyzing patterns and identifying effective interventions. This research can inform public policy, guiding the development of programs and services that address the needs of at-risk individuals and families. By continually refining our understanding of familicide and its prevention, society can adapt its strategies to meet emerging challenges and protect families from harm. Prevention efforts should also focus on building resilience within individuals and communities. Resilience is the ability to cope with and recover from adversity, and it can be a critical factor in preventing familicide. Programs that promote resilience teach individuals how to manage stress, seek help when needed, and maintain a positive outlook, even in difficult circumstances. Building resilience within families and communities can help mitigate the factors that contribute to familicide, creating a buffer against the pressures that can lead to violence. Resilience-building programs should be integrated into schools, workplaces, and community organizations, ensuring that individuals have the skills and resources they need to cope with challenges in healthy ways. Also, addressing societal norms and attitudes that contribute to familicide is essential. In some cases, cultural beliefs about masculinity, power, and control can exacerbate the risk of familicide, particularly in patriarchal societies where men may feel entitled to dominate their families. Public education campaigns should challenge these harmful norms, promoting values of equality, respect, and nonviolence. By shifting cultural attitudes away from dominance and control, society can create an environment where familicide is less likely to occur. Do you think it was only because of his financial state that Kamal killed himself and his family? Or is there more to the murder than we all know? Kindly consider liking the video, hitting that subscribe button, and the notification bell. See you in the next video.